The neighborhood where little Henry's family lives is a row of small houses with adjoining yards. Here, people frequently meet and help one another. Dad Thomas and Mom Mary always want Henry to grow up to be a boy who cares about and respects shared spaces. Instead of using flowery words or elaborate comparisons, the parents choose to teach him directly through daily events, focusing on helping Henry see the clear consequences of his actions on those around him. On a weekend afternoon, Henry invited a few children in the neighborhood to play tag. While engrossed in running away to avoid being caught, Henry jumped over a low fence and ran straight into the middle of the neighbors' blooming portulaca and chrysanthemum pots. The boy's sneakers accidentally trampled the succulent stems, crushing the flowers and leaves into the soil. Dad Thomas was trimming his own hedge. Seeing this, he stopped. He did not call out in a startling voice but simply walked calmly over, stood outside the fence, and called out softly, "Henry, stop for a moment and look down at your feet." Henry stopped and looked down, realizing he was standing on a pile of crushed flower remains. Henry's face looked confused. He stepped out of the flower bed and stood tucked in a corner. Dad Thomas stood silently for a while, looking at the damaged flower pots and then at Henry. His eyes were serious, and he spoke in a deep, clear voice. "Henry, do you know that the neighbors spent many afternoons watering and weeding these flower pots? He waited a whole month for them to bloom, but in just 1 minute of running around, you ruined his hard work." Mom Mary also stepped out of the house when she heard the event. She did not scold Henry, she just sat on the nearby steps and beckoned him over. Mom looked at him with a composed face. She took his soil-covered hand and said, "Henry, do you remember when you spent all morning building a sandcastle, and then a little friend accidentally ran through it and collapsed everything? You felt very sad then, did not you? These flowers are the same. The neighbor cared for them with all his love. Now seeing the flowers ruined like this, he will feel very regretful and sad." Mom straightened Henry's collar and continued her advice. "Your mistake was not observing and playing in the wrong place. Trampling on plants is a bad action. Now, I want you to go with Daddy to the neighbor's house, first to apologize to him, and then to see if you can help him clean up or replant the remaining seedlings." Henry lowered his head. He understood that he had upset the neighbor. With Dad Thomas' calm companionship, Henry bravely faced the neighbor and learned a lesson about protecting the results of others' labor. Another day, while playing in the alley, Henry noticed the faucet in the corner of the neighbor's yard was dripping a few drops. Curious, Henry slid his hand through the gaps of the iron fence and turned the faucet hard to see how strong the water flowed. After seeing the water gushing out and soaking a section of the yard, Henry suddenly got bored and ran off to play another game, forgetting to turn the faucet off. The water continued to flow all over the road, creating a large puddle. Dad Thomas came home from work. Seeing the overflowing water, he immediately recognized what had happened. He stood at the gate, looking at the wasted flow, and called Henry over. His face was serene. He pointed at the running faucet and said, "Henry, look, a lot of water is being wasted. The neighbor is not home if it stays like this. When he returns tonight, he will find the yard flooded, and he will have to pay a very large water bill for something he did not do." Dad Thomas guided Henry on how to reach through to shut the faucet tightly. Once the water stopped flowing, Dad looked at Henry with a serious gaze. "Water is very precious, and you are not allowed to touch other people's belongings without permission. For you to mess with it and then walk away like that is very irresponsible." Mom Mary came out, bringing a dry towel for Henry to wipe his hands. She sat on the wooden bench on the porch, drawing Henry close. Mom looked at him sincerely, without any harsh reproach. "Henry, every item in the neighbor's house belongs to him. When you turned the faucet without permission, you intruded on someone else's privacy. Think about it. If someone came into our yard, turned on all the lights, and left, leaving Mom and Dad to pay the electric bill and worry about safety, would you think that was right?" Mom took Henry's hand and gently continued, "Your forgetting to shut the water not only causes waste, but also dirties everyone's shared path. I hope next time you will remember to only use your own things and always be responsible for what you have done. Later when the neighbor returns, go tell him what happened and apologize to him." Henry looked at the puddle slowly soaking into the ground. He understood that a small mischievous act could cause big trouble for others. Dad's seriousness and Mom's rusty advice helped Henry grasp the meaning of responsibility more deeply. One morning, Henry stood on the second-floor balcony playing with small plastic cars and planes. While excitedly pretending to make a plane take off, Henry dropped the toy plane from the balcony. Unfortunately, the toy plane hit the roof of a guest's car parked below in the alley. A loud thud echoed off the metal car roof. Dad Thomas was standing near the window seeing this. He stepped out onto the balcony. He did not take back the toy immediately but led Henry down to the street to observe. He stood next to the car, pointing out a small dent and a paint scratch caused by the toy to Henry. His eyes were still and serious, and he said, "Henry, look at this injury on the car roof. Dropping things from high up is extremely dangerous. Today it hit a car. If it accidentally hit the head of someone passing by, the consequences would be much worse." Dad Thomas kept his voice calm but decisive. "This car is someone else's property, and now you have damaged it. The owner will have to spend money to repair this paint section." Mom Mary walked over. She sat beside Henry right on the sidewalk. Mom looked at him with an empathetic gaze. She explained rustically, "Henry, the balcony is a place for us to look at the view and breathe the air, not a place to throw things down. When you drop a toy like that, you cannot control where it will fall. The owner of this car will surely be very pained to see his vehicle scratched just because of a little boy's games." Mom took the toy plane, gave it back to Henry, and said, "Mom and Dad always teach you about safety. This action of yours violated safety rules and damaged someone else's things. Now, stay here and wait with Daddy. When the car owner returns, you must honestly admit your fault and apologize to them. You also need to understand that Mom and Dad might have to use the money intended for your next gift to help them repair this car." Henry looked at the scratch on the car. He felt immensely regretful. He understood that he had not only damaged the car but also made his parents worry. Young thanks to his parents' practical handling and sincere advice, Henry learned that every action from a height can have unforeseen consequences. When the windy season arrived, Henry was taken by Dad Thomas to fly a kite in an open lot near the neighborhood. Due to accidentally letting the kite string get too long, a strong gust caught Henry's kite and tangled it tightly in the high branches and power lines running across the neighbor's house. Instead of asking Dad for help, Henry tried his best to yank the string to get the kite back. As a result, the kite did not come out, but a large branch of the neighbor's tree snapped and fell into the yard. Dad Thomas saw the fallen branch and quickly went over, stopping Henry from pulling the string further due to electrical safety concerns. He stood looking at the broken branch and then at Henry. His eyebrows furrowed slightly, and his voice was low but serious. "Henry, look, the branch is broken. Yanking a kite string when it is caught in power lines is extremely dangerous. You could get electrocuted. Moreover, the neighbor planted this tree many years ago for shade. Breaking such a large branch has ruined the tree's shape." Mom Mary also came over. She led Henry to a safer spot. She sat down at his eye level, her eyes crinkling with shared feeling, and said gently, "My dear Henry, I know you are sorry about the kite and want it back. But the tree is also a living being. It takes a very long time to grow such a large branch. When you yanked hard, you hurt the tree, friend. Think about it. If someone pulled your arm hard and made you hurt, how would you feel?" Mom stroked Henry's hand, which was red from pulling the string. "Your impatience damaged the neighbor's tree and almost endangered yourself. When things get stuck, you need to ask an adult for support or find a safe way to handle it, rather than using blind strength like that." Mom Mary looked toward the broken branch and continued later, "Go with Daddy to apologize to the neighbor. Also, help Daddy pick up that broken branch to clean the yard for him. That is the way you fix your mistake." Henry listened to his mother. He realized his lack of self-control had caused damage. Thanks to Dad's calm guidance and Mom's rustic advice, Henry understood more about protecting nature and respecting the property of those around him.